going to make something a little bit different this morning. I'm going to make Spam and scrambled eggs and pancakes. Now, I had to eat Spam so much in the Army that I built up an aversion to it that I promised myself I would never eat another bite of Spam as long as I lived. But over the years I have mellowed a little, I guess, and it's been 70 years. And I guess most people mellow in that length of time. In fact, I've mellowed to the point where I even have a couple cans of Spam in the pantry here. Okay, the skillet's hot. Hit it with some non-stick here. I've already diced up the Spam. I'll pre-cook it. Okay, the Spam is hot. Scrambled eggs. Let that cook on the bottom just a little here, and I'll turn them over. If I was one of those fancy French chefs, I'd flip it and show you how to flip it, but with me it's called putting it on top of the burner on the stove. Let it finish cooking there. Okay, this is done. Salt and pepper it. And I've had the hotcakes in the microwave, eating them. And that's ready to go to the table. Ethel, would you take it to the table, please? And get a couple forks. Okay, there it is on the table. Along with my favorite cup of coffee there. Put some syrup on the pancakes and I'll have breakfast. And the clock says it is now whatever time. See how this puppy tastes. Get some of the Spam in there with the eggs. You know what? That's pretty darn good. Get some syrup on these pancakes, and I'm going to have breakfast now. And I'm going to tell you a story. Well, as promised, I'm going to tell you a story. This is a war story, or at least You still I've been there almost a year, and I was a master sergeant then, and my job was construction inspector. And I would travel around to the various job sites to inspect them and see that they were being accomplished according to the design, and if they needed anything and if there's problems and things like that. And one of our assignments with the Air Force was to flatten the top of 5 mountains about 10 miles from the ceasefire line for radar sites. And they picked out the mountains that they wanted to convert to that purpose. And we would move bulldozers in and start at the bottom and build a road around and around it until up to the top, and then flatten the top of it to an area big enough to accommodate their trailers with the radar on it, and support tents and things like that. And also they had to have a security up there, and each one of those was assigned a contingent of about 45 or 50 Turkish soldiers. Turkey was in the Korean War too, for those of you that might not realize it. And they provided security and defense for the area, because only 10 miles from the actual point of not shooting at each other anymore, or supposedly not to, they had a lot of infiltrators that come down at night, and I'm sure that a lot of them stayed around in the mountains during the daytime hiding out, but they'd try to sneak in there to steal food. That was one of the things they were looking for, and anything else they could find, and damage equipment and things of that sort. And they seldom ever started shooting because they were outgunned, and it was not a smart thing for them to do. But I got to this one unit, and I was going to spend the night there, so I would spend it with the Turkish army there. They'd put me up for the night and feed me and things of that sort. And it happened to be some sort of holiday for them, and I don't know what it was, but anyway, to celebrate, they were supposed to have a roasted lamb. That was the tradition, and they would drink some kind of liquor that, Lord, I don't know what it was, but man, it was terrible. I can't imagine that they drank it for pleasure. But at any rate, the lambs are kind of hard to find in Korea, so the cook was taking the nearest thing he had to it, which was Spam. And it came in loaves about 16 inches long and about 4.5 inches or 5 inches square. And he decided to carve that down to look like a lamb. Well, he whittled on it a while. It always looked to me like a pig. But at any rate, that was going to be the lamb. And they had their party, and all the side dishes that went with it, and they carved up the Spam lamb and had it, and next morning everybody there except me was drunk from that stuff that they were drinking. But the area we were clear was to be big enough for helicopters to land, and
helicopters came and went there, and I was traveling in a Jeep, and up in there, it wasn't really smart to travel alone, so I'd wait till I found one or two other vehicles going the same direction I was and travel with them. But at any rate, whenever that I got through checking those 5 sites, I returned to K6, which is south of Seoul, that we were building a runway there. And as I started driving down the runway, kind of looking around, this friend of mine by the name of Joe Boone from Seymour, Texas, came roaring up behind me, honking his horn in the Jeep, and he said, "Foreman, where the hell have you been? Get your ass in gear and get down there, turn in your stuff, you're leaving in an hour." And I said, "Oh my gosh." And he says, "You miss this flight and no telling when you'll be on orders again." So an hour later, I was on a big old C-118, 119. The thing that they used in Flight of the Phoenix, that twin-engine flying boxcar, as they call them, on our way to Japan. And by the time we got through checking out in Japan and a little over 2 weeks on the ship coming back and processing through San Francisco and home, it took just about a month to get home from that. And I got my discharge at Fort Hood on 2 days before my birthday, or 3 days before, so that I'd be discharged on the last day of October and they wouldn't have to pay me for the month of November. But that's my story there, and about the Spam lamb. So, God bless Texas, God bless America, and you folks, where do you ever see a place with, you find a sign like